In my hands today, I have this ICAN Aero 50 wheelset. I've heard good things, so let's see how they stand up against other well-known wheelsets that I have tested. The first thing that strikes you is their remarkable lightweight, a feature that sort of defies the robust nature of these wheels, especially with my fat arse bouncing up and down on them.
I saw it, it's big.
Now the decals, which are applied over the clear coat, have a slightly raised profile. The carbon itself, composed of a blend of T700 and T800, boasts a matte finish that exudes sort of understated, appealing to cyclists who prefer performance to speak louder than their visuals. The absence of any visible imperfection speaks volumes about the quality control that ICAN must employ during the manufacturing process. There was tubeless rim tape included in the box, however it's not pre-installed on the wheel, which I have seen on other brands. Obviously not a deal breaker, but for us old school inner tube users, it means we don't have to remove it. Now they're out of the box, time to get the wheels into the AliExpress truing stand, which has served me well, and really see what these wheels are made of. Well, carbon obviously, but you know what I mean. Now the front wheel depth is advertised at 50mm, same as the rear, but in practice these wheels measure slightly more. The figures come in at 50.8, 50.9, 50.8 and 51.3. Pretty good and unlikely to affect the performance in a noticeable way. Now the rear was pretty much the same, closely matching the advertised depth of 50mm. To be honest, this measurement is not super important. Now measuring the inner rim width of the front rim, which is important, I got 19.1mm measurement across 4 different points. Hopefully that transfers to when we do the trueness check shortly. Now the outer rim width, which poses a greater challenge to measure due to the curvature of the actual wheel. Again, I measured the wheel at 4 different points and they all came in at 25.2mm, so pretty good as well. Matching the front, the rear wheel maintains the same standard with an equally consistent inner rim width of 19.1mm. The outer width stays within the same narrow margin of consistency, albeit with a slight 0.1mm increment in one of the measurements, so nothing. Such minor discrepancies are well within the acceptable range of manufacturing standards and, like I said before, won't affect this wheel's performance. An intriguing observation is the presence of a spacer on the rear wheel measured at 1.7mm, so it's likely a 1.8mm spacer, which is for 9 and 10 speed cassettes.
Ancient history.
The ICAN wheels are equipped with steel bladed spokes. Now a design that slices through the air with more efficiency than traditional round spokes, apparently. Now at 2mm deep and 1mm wide, these spokes are crafted to provide an aerodynamic advantage without sacrificing strength. As I said, they are also made from steel, which will be music to some people's ears. Seems to be a lot of hate for carbon spokes these days. A 2-cross lacing pattern is employed here, where each spoke crosses 2 other spokes on its way to the rim. This pattern is a compromise between the rigidity of a 3-cross pattern and the reduced weight and wind resistance of a radial lacing pattern. It's interesting to note that the spokes touch at the crossing point. Now this sometimes leads to noise or wear points due to spoke movement, although it can also contribute to the overall lateral stiffness of the wheel. Now these ICAN Aero 50 wheels have 24 of these bladed spokes on both the front and the rear wheels. They are evenly divided between the drive side and the non-drive side, so 12 spokes on each side. These spokes are also straight pull, which means they extend directly from the hub to the rim without a need for a bend. This design is known for creating a strong connection and reducing the spokes' fatigue over time because there is no weak point or no bend, which makes sense in my head. Now it wouldn't be right to look at the spokes without checking all the spoke tension. So out came the trusty AliExpress digital spoke tension tool, and I measured every spoke on both the front and the rear wheel. We can see in the Part Tools spoke tension app that both wheels are within the 20% variance. In fact, when I change it to 5%, we still get the green tick. I'll be intrigued to give this a retest when I've done 1,000 miles, so do subscribe. Maybe I'll ride the bike down a flight of stairs or something. Now these wheels use the ICAN D01 hubs. These hubs are stated to have an in-house design by Novatech, which can imply a tailored approach to the wheelset's overall design philosophy. Now the use of sealed bearings is nice to see, and it's standard with this wheelset. The quietness of the free hub is a preference for many cyclists. I've had some really loud wheels recently. Now, when we start to spin these, first of all in the stand, we can see that it just goes and goes. Spinning the wheels by hand allows me to feel any grinding in the bearings. The older index fingers are up for the task, and I can confirm that the wheel spun delightfully and there was no grinding, no grit, you know, super smooth, which is great news. It's also super satisfying spinning wheel bearings in my shed alone, which makes me question my life choices sometimes. Now, the superior spin of the front wheel is as expected due to the simpler hub structure without a free hub mechanism. Right now, I would describe the front wheel as buttery smooth. It literally spun and spun and spun in my hands. Now, I'm not just going to play it out because we'd be another 5 minutes, but it kind of felt like perpetual motion. Although the wheelset comes with tubeless tape and valves, you can also use clincher tyres with this carbon wheelset. ICAN recommend a tyre size of 25 or 28mm, but say it can take up to 40mm tyres, which I'm going to say is a little ambitious, but I don't think many people are going to be riding 40mm tyres on their road bike anyway. On to one of the most important factors, how true this wheel is. Now, we're going to be looking at the radial trueness, which is basically how round the wheel is, and the lateral trueness, how much the wheel wobbles from side to side, you know, like this. For the front wheel radial trueness sound check, we push the arm towards the wheel. A slight scrape can be heard, and that suggests minimal deviation. If you have a constant sound, no deviation. If it's like chun, 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 sounds weird, then that would indicate there is more variance. When we swap over to the meter reading, which is far more accurate, we have 0.2mm deflection. This is an excellent result for radial trueness. This is what we like to see. For the front wheel lateral trueness, as the jaws move inward towards the wheel, we get a consistent sound, which is good. This implies that there is uniformity in that lateral trueness, and the wheel isn't sort of coming away, then touching, coming away, then touching. Swapping to the meter reading, we have 0.1mm of lateral run out. Now, considering it was impacted by the decals as well, this is pretty remarkable. 0.1mm is basically nothing. Think about it, tiny. Not even a hair's width. On the rear wheel, the radial trueness check, there was a lack of noticeable noise with the sort of sound check, which is a good indicator. Starting to see a pattern here. The meter reading gave 0.19mm of radial deviation. Now, the rear wheel maintains an impressive tight tolerance, which is within the range of high quality wheels. Well, in my eyes anyway. For the rear wheel lateral trueness, there was very little sound deviation. Over to the meter reading, and it came out at 0.1mm of deviation for the rear wheel lateral trueness, which is basically exceptional. I don't think I've seen a 0.1 before. When we look on the chart, we can confirm that they officially take the top spot. It's no easy feat to get to the top. There's some big names on there. Very, very good. Nice work, ICAN. And the front wheel weighs 661 grams. Now, this is quite lightweight for a carbon wheel, especially one that's 50mm deep. The rear wheel weighs 812 grams. Similarly, the rear wheel was also impressively light. Honestly, when you feel these in your hands, they literally feel like nothing. Not even 2 kilos for both of them. Combine the two and we have a total weight of 1,473 grams, which is advantageous for racers and those looking for quick acceleration and climbing efficiency. You can check out this video next, which will be a review of the second highest wheelset on the leaderboard, and there will be just as much sarcasm and information in that video, maybe even a little bit more.